It's definitely been a lot of heavy thinking.
It's the toughest road a teacher will travel.
If the time and situation were to present itself, could I do it?
Here in Central Ohio,
a full grip there.
Educators become students.
You got to operate that safety every single time.
Learning how to stop an active killer.
There are lots of people out there who would never think of carrying a firearm. There's nothing wrong with that, and there's nothing wrong with them. But we need to look for the staff who, if violence comes into that building tomorrow, they're going to willingly stand between somebody with a rifle and these kids.
Like a Cleveland area teacher who asked to only be identified as Corey.
I'm going to do what I can because I would want somebody to do the same for my child.
This is the Tactical Defense Institute and nonprofit program Faster Saves Lives.
Faculty, administrator, safety training and emergency response.
Director Jim Irvine says the intense training is free once a district signs off on it, and specifically designed for schools by nationally recognized law enforcement, medical, and weapons experts.
We train people who have permission from the school, and the school sends them to us and says, this is who we want trained.
1,300 school employees in over 200 districts from 12 states have already completed the program, with many more now considering it after the mass shooting at a Florida high school.
Since Parkland, we have been absolutely overwhelmed.
Including Berkshire Locals Superintendent John Stoddard.
It's one of the areas that we're looking into.
Just part of a multi-layered security plan that's continually evolving, says Stoddard.
We want people to know that we're going to do whatever we need to do to keep our kids safe.
A growing number of church employees are also signing up.
The way the world is today, it seems like a necessity, and if you're not doing something, you're really I think on the borderline of being negligent.
Concealed carry permits are required.
Go ahead and lock the slide back.
And this gun course, modeled after the Ohio Peace Officers Training Academy.
How to draw from a holster or concealment, how to shoot one-handed if needed, how to shoot weak hand only, shooting while moving.
To qualify, teachers must hit both fixed and moving targets with 93% accuracy. That means they can only miss 2 shots, which is more than is required for both the U.S. Army and Ohio police officers.
Well, for me personally, it's tougher than I thought.
And it only gets harder, with 3 days of physically and emotionally grueling scenario drills and tactical training where every second counts.
The vast majority of these events are over before any outside law enforcement ever get inside.
Even longer before medics can treat victims.
90% of people shot with a firearm survive it, unless you're in a school. So the death rate is 5 times higher in our schools than it is anywhere else. That is not acceptable.
Jim says perhaps the most crucial part of the program is advanced trauma instruction, including applying tourniquets.
That shouldn't be controversial.
But the guns are an issue, opposed by thousands who marched across the country recently. The National Education Association and former Chardon football coach Frank Hall, who in 2012 chased a shooter from the building after 3 students were killed and others hurt.
I just reacted. I had no idea.
Hall, who was once a deputy sheriff himself, created a foundation to get school resource officers, or SROs, in every building across the country.
Teachers are nurturers by nature. We don't want them, having to make that decision. Like if I had a weapon that day, I don't know if I could have done it.
The vast majority of our school staff want nothing to do with carrying a gun, and there's nothing wrong with that. They're good people, but there's also nothing wrong with identifying the couple people who are going to go to the scene on event day.
Jim says especially when police response times vary depending on location, but teachers are always right there.
We've had teachers draw their firearms in lethal force threat and end the violence with no shots fired.
Preventing a tragedy is always a goal, and why training continues at home. Being prepared, just in case.
I hope I would never have to use it, but if taking the life of one student means saving the lives of others, then it's what I have to do.
Suzanne Stratford, Fox 8 News.